Facebook under fire tonight.
The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
Whistleblower Frances Haugen insisting Congress must act against a company she says is misleading the public, promoting hateful and harmful content, holding its CEO to account. Haugen left Facebook in May armed with tens of thousands of internal documents.
Hi, welcome to another episode of ColdFusion, where I cover anything in science, technology, business or history. Facebook is the company that everyone loves to hate. It's a $1 trillion giant that raked in almost $30 billion last year. Spanning 17 years of operation and 3.5 billion users across all of their apps, they've consumed 60% of all internet-connected people on the planet. Facebook literally has the power to change nations, especially in the developing world, and not in a good way. It has long been stated that Facebook is ripping apart the social fabric of humanity, but now the criticism of Facebook is reaching its highest level yet. In recent days, a whistleblower has come out to highlight the dangers of Facebook and what it's doing to humanity. They exposed how Facebook purposely chooses money over the lives of people. The whistleblower also likened the company's products to cigarettes for teenagers and stated that the company should be treated like the tobacco industry. And just before all of this, a massive data breach occurred sharing the details of 1.5 billion Facebook users. And at the same time, a major outage saw all of their platforms go down for over 6 hours. In this episode, we'll take a look at the many troubles plaguing Facebook.
You are watching ColdFusion TV.
In September, the Wall Street Journal published a number of revealing articles about Facebook's internal workings. One such article revealed how they knew that Instagram was toxic for teenage girls. It showcased internal documents that noted 1 in 3 teen girls felt that Instagram made them more depressed about their own bodies. Facebook's own internal research also revealed that 13% of the teen girls asked said that the platform made suicidal thoughts worse. It's extremely sad to imagine how many kids we've lost due to the company's policies. At the time, nobody knew how the Wall Street Journal got such insider information, but then the leaker came forward on 60 Minutes to tell her story.
The complaints say Facebook's own research shows that it amplifies hate, misinformation, and political unrest, but the company hides what it knows. What makes Haugen's complaints unprecedented is the trove of private Facebook research she took when she quit in May.
Her name is Frances Haugen, and she's the former Facebook product manager, and she had a lot to say about her former company.
The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interests, like making more money. Imagine you know what's going on inside of Facebook and you know no one on the outside knows. At some point in 2021, I realized, okay, I'm gonna have to do this in a systemic way, and I have to get out enough that no one can question that this is real.
She secretly copied tens of thousands of pages of Facebook internal research. She says evidence shows that the company is lying to the public. We have evidence from a variety of sources that hate speech, divisive political speech, and misinformation on Facebook and the family of apps are affecting societies around the world.
When we live in an information environment that is full of angry, hateful, polarizing content, it erodes our civic trust, it erodes our faith in each other, it erodes our ability to want to care for each other. The version of Facebook that exists today is tearing our societies apart and causing ethnic violence around the world.
She also mentioned that engagement-based ranking tends to push extreme content to the top of feeds.
And one of the consequences of how Facebook is picking out that content today is that it is optimizing for content that gets engagement, a reaction. But its own research is showing that content that is hateful, that is divisive, that is polarizing, it's easier to inspire people to anger than it is to other emotions. Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money. Facebook makes more money when you consume more content. People enjoy engaging with things that elicit an emotional reaction. And the more anger that they get exposed to, the more they interact and more they consume.
It feels like the sad truth that we all knew about Facebook, but now there's hard proof being shown from the inside, out to the general public. Not stopping at her 60 Minutes interview, on October 5th, Frances went before the US Senate, bringing scathing allegations against the trillion-dollar giant.
But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
She told the Senate that Facebook puts astronomical profits before people, and they would choose to steer towards violent or controversial content to boost engagement over more positive content.
I saw Facebook repeatedly encounter conflicts between its own profits and our safety. Facebook consistently resolved these conflicts in favor of its own profits. The result has been more division, more harm, more lies, more threats, and more combat. In some cases, this dangerous online talk has led to actual violence that harms and even kills people. This is not simply a matter of certain social media users being angry or unstable, or about one side being radicalized against the other. It is about Facebook choosing to grow at all costs, becoming an almost $1 trillion company by buying its profits with our safety.
She told the Senate, Facebook knows that its systems lead teenagers to anorexia-related content, and that the Instagram app was like cigarettes for under 18s, and that the company should be treated like the tobacco industry.
When we realized Big Tobacco was hiding the harms it caused, the government took action. I implore you to do the same here.
She also stated that the company simply just didn't have enough staff to keep the platform safe. Facebook was literally fanning ethnic violence in developing countries. Examples include Myanmar and Ethiopia, and this was because it wasn't policing its service adequately outside the US.
My fear is that without action, divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it.
And she said that the buck stops with founder and chief executive Mark Zuckerberg. Frances's lawyers have launched 8 complaints with the SEC about Facebook. Interestingly, she's against breaking up Facebook, but wants Congress to step in.
The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth.
Frances didn't just leave things at doom and gloom, however. She gave a clear roadmap of how Facebook can right its wrongs and begin to heal society. Recommendations include Facebook sharing internal information and research with Congress and other regulatory bodies. And secondly, replacing algorithms on Facebook's newsfeed with simple chronological ranking.
During my time at Facebook, I came to realize a devastating truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside of Facebook. The company intentionally hides vital information from the public, from the US government, and from governments around the world. Today, Facebook shapes our perception of the world by choosing the information we see. Even those who don't use Facebook are impacted by the majority who do. A company with such frightening influence over so many people, over their deepest thoughts, feelings, and behavior, needs real oversight.
She also urged lawmakers to force more transparency on Facebook and that algorithms should be able to come under scrutiny.
No one truly understands the destructive choices made by Facebook except Facebook. We can afford nothing less than full transparency. As long as Facebook is operating in the shadows, hiding its research from public scrutiny, it is unaccountable. Until the incentives change, Facebook will not change.
Surprisingly, this all seems to not have been tainted by American politics. There seems to be complete bipartisan support for the regulation of Facebook. In total, the Senate testimony may be a catalyst for Facebook to change. Facebook responded to the hearing, basically stating that Frances didn't have intimate knowledge of the behind the scenes of the company and wasn't directly involved in the subject at hand. But she herself acknowledged this and stated that she had access to insider research and thought it should be publicly available. On October 6th, Mark Zuckerberg stated that the claims were, quote, just not true and, quote, didn't make any sense. He also mentioned that internal research about the effects of Instagram on young people had been, quote, mischaracterized. This would have all been bad enough for Facebook, but it comes just after an alleged security breach. I'll briefly summarize. In late September, over 1.5 billion Facebook users' information was sold on a hacker forum. The personal data of these 1.5 billion Facebook users went for a rate of about $5,000 for 1 million Facebook user accounts. The data contains users' names, email, phone number, location, gender, and user ID. It was obtained through the process of web scraping. More on this later. The data can be utilized for phishing and account takeover attacks, and the sold data is claimed to be new from 2021. The seller of this data is a group that's said to be doing this for 4 years, and they get the data by using computer programs to simply harvest Facebook profiles which have been set to public by their owners. Unfortunately, a lot of people share this information of their own will. So to be clear, no accounts have been compromised, but the public details may be used to bombard people with unsolicited advertising. With real-life location, phone numbers, and users' full names, you can do a lot of damage. SMS and push notification scam, phishing attacks, or social engineering attacks are all possible. These users would have to be aware of spam messages that appear to be legitimate, from a bank, a post office telling you about a package delivery, or many other things. If they click the link, their phone or computer could be compromised, and passwords stolen. Then these passwords can be used by criminals, or just sold on the dark web. Facebook spokesperson Joe Osborne told Newsweek, quote, "We're investigating this claim and have sent a takedown request to the forum that's advertising the alleged data." Around the same time that the data scraping was going on, a massive outage saw Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp all go offline for a total of 6 hours. The outage marked the longest stretch of downtime for Facebook since 2008. Zuckerberg would lose $8 billion in stock equity as a result. Many theorized that the hack was related to Facebook going offline, but so far there hasn't been any credible evidence to support that. So what caused the outage? According to Sanchos Janardan, VP of Infrastructure, quote, "Our engineering teams have learned that configuration changes on the backbone routers that coordinate traffic between our data centers caused issues that interrupted this communication. This disruption to network traffic had a cascading event on the way our data centers communicate, bringing our services to a halt." End quote. So basically, it was human error. So, from the whistleblower complaint saying that they put profits before people, to a hack where 1.5 billion users' data got leaked, to a massive outage that crippled all of their services, Facebook is really going through it, huh? So what do you guys think? Do you think that we're going to start seeing some political action against Facebook finally, so we can start to heal society? I would like to hope so. And I have to say, good on Frances for coming out. Doing what she did is no doubt risky.
A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible. But there's one thing that I hope everyone takes away from these disclosures. It is that Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own.
I think every regulator in this country has finally been handed a sheet of papers from Facebook itself that says this company is doing harm and it knows it. And I think it's going to take a lot for Facebook to get through this in a way that doesn't result in a company being radically restructured. Whether that's a breakup or whether that's a governance change, which I think a lot of people would like to see, something is coming this time.
If you want to see my previous video on how exactly Facebook rips apart society, I've done one which I'll link below, but I do want to warn you it's a very confronting watch and does contain some confronting footage. It's especially sad what it's doing to young people's brains as well. Anyway, that's about it from me. I'm working on a video on the Evergrande situation, so hopefully that will be done soon. Alright, so my name is Dagogo, and you've been watching ColdFusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers guys, have a good one.